Chapter 7, A Twist of Events. With no exact idea of what just happened, the spies phoned back to MI6 to explain all that they knew. M's sister sounded stern on the phone and demanded that they come back. Bond and 00 Sleddy confusingly agreed. They drove off from the alley in downtown and soon arrived back at MI6, for it wasn't too far away. From her office, Moneypenny could hear Bond and 00 Sleddy walking up the hallway. She frantically ran from her desk to a shelf sorter on the opposite wall. She moved one letter from one slot to the other, and the sorter lowered, and then moved to the left to reveal a fireplace, lit, with stockings hanging and garland along the mantel. She got down on the ground and sat, awaiting the spies. They soon entered, and immediately their eyes went to Moneypenny. "Why, Moneypenny, I never thought, well, that you...
Moneypenny, you've gone above and beyond. I think that you have just made me believe in something else this time of year."
"Thank you, James." Moneypenny then extended her hand, and Bond advanced to take it. However, the intercom on Moneypenny's desk then buzzed. "Miss Moneypenny, are Bond and 00 Sleddy there? Do please send them in." Bond and Moneypenny then smirked at each other, and instead of romantically bringing Bond down, Bond pulled Moneypenny up as a friend. During the entire time, 00 Sleddy had his head in a corner. Bond then went over to his partner and could hear him muttering to himself. Sugar plums, let that be the only thing dancing in my head. Trying to ignore anything that's going on between those two.
Are you done?
Oh, are you two done? Well, onward. The two of them then walked into M's office as Moneypenny rearranged her office back to its original look. As Bond and 00 Sleddy walked in, they saw M's sister and another person sitting on the opposite side. "Jenna?" 00 Sleddy said. "Daniel 00 Sleddy," she said, running from her seat to 00 Sleddy and embracing him. 00 Sleddy smiled, but then backed away in concern. "Jenna, I appreciate the gesture, but I am afraid that you need to explain the events that just happened to us before we can become close friends." "She doesn't have the full story," a voice said from the doorway. They all turned to see Sarah standing in the doorway. "Oh, James," she said, giving the same gesture as Jenna did towards 00 Sleddy. "The Maxwell sisters claim they've been the so-called masterminds in this whole thing," M's sister explained. Bond raised his arms to accept the hug, but then pulled her away from him.
"We have no time for your lovey-dovey stuff. Give us some explanation."
00 Sleddy, M's sister, and Jenna grew shocked. "James, no!" they all said. Bond then let her go.
"Go on, darling. After all, this is the time to believe in things. Let's hear your story."
"What BJ told you about the threats being made up were sort of true. One year our Christmas display caught on fire and tragically took Mother and Father. We had nobody, so we invented the idea of us being connected to the royal family, giving us a new identity. With this, the crowds came back and were interested, and naturally we became a household name. BJ was always interested and always wanted a piece of the action. He told us that he was part of a group that could give us protection. Our charade got to our heads and we hired him, eventually becoming our guardian. This is where I'll jump in. I actually am adopted into this family and always felt that BJ was a little bit fishy. Sure enough, I then stumbled upon a lab of his where he had technology hanging on every wall. I showed Sarah one night. I knew help had to be called, and that's when he caught us. He said that we would have to get rid of the help that we called if he didn't want to get rid of us. That's why we were assisting him to try to kill you. Getting rid of one of the most successful agent duos would give us less of a chance of being found out. You see, we were set up, essentially. BJ was hired by me to help capture you, even more than he was to protect us. If it is possible at all, I want you to take me away. Give us asylum. As long as I'm with you, James, I'll be safe. I won't be lonely anymore." Well, this is certainly a peppermint twist of events. Just to be clear, Ms. Maxwell, this was all a stunt. You're basically a fraud, and yet you're still in danger? 00 Sleddy asked. "Yes, BJ is the danger. With his advances in technology, he could still bring Jenna and myself back under his control. He could even do things to you."
"Ma'am, what do you think?" Bond said, asking M's sister's opinion.
"Well, we don't really have another choice. They came to us. I think you and 00 Sleddy should take custody of the sisters and keep an eye out for this BJ. This guy sounds like a real threat.
Yes, agreed. I will say this. It appears that he might have help from an old friend of mine, the henchman known as Jaws. However, I think we have taken care of him for now. Bond and Double O Slutty then led the Maxwell sisters from the office, outside. M's sister sat in her chair for a second until she called out,
"How exactly do you mean when you say you think you've taken care of him?"
Double O Slutty then looked back inside.
"Well, we boxed him in pretty well. I don't think he'll be going anywhere for a little bit."